Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting of Monday, July 14th. I wish to begin by acknowledging that the District of Sooke is located on the traditional lands of both the Sooke and the Siano nations. Before we get into tonight's agenda, I would like to take a moment to recognize the recent by-election held here in the District of Sooke. On behalf of council, I want to extend our sincere thanks to all 7 candidates who put their names forward. Running for public office is a significant commitment and a valuable contribution to our democratic process. Your participation strengthens local government and helps ensure a healthy exchange of ideas within our community. I would like to thank as well the election team for their professional and impartial administration of the by-election. Your work in delivering a fair and transparent election process for eligible voters is greatly appreciated. We extend our congratulations to Councillor-elect Herb Haldane, who received the highest numbers of votes and has been elected to Sooke Council. We look forward to officially welcoming you at the upcoming July 28th council meeting, where you will take your oath of office. And finally, thank you to all the electors of the municipality who participated by casting a ballot. Voter participation is a cornerstone of effective local government, and we're very grateful to everyone who took part in this year's by-election. So on that note, council, I will turn your attention, please, to today's regular meeting agenda and look for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Beddoes and seconded by Councillor St. Pierre. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Item 4, adoption of meeting minutes. We have our June 23rd regular and our special council of July the 7th. Moved by Councillor St. Pierre and seconded by Beddoes. Any questions or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? And that too is carried unanimously. Number 5 is the report of our Chief Administrative Officer. Ms. Gray is away on a well-deserved vacation, so I'll turn to our acting CAO if there's any comments or a member of staff in addition to the written report. Ms. Liu?
Through the mayor to council, we have finished another successful tax season ended July 2nd. Next step, finance staff will send out letters to the property owners with outstanding tax in delinquency. Actually, we have less properties in delinquency than last year. Because we started tax season early this year, we started late in May. So probably property owners had longer time to arrange their property tax payments. We do see a better result. Meantime, the 2026 budget survey is now open to the public. Council members and district staff are volunteering at the night market and Saturday market as well. So we welcome the public's input to our 2026 budget. In addition to that, just to add, the Little River pedestrian bridge project anticipate a fall completion of the project this fall, and Ravens Ridge multi-use facility already open to the public. So that's all I have for tonight. Welcome any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything for Ms. Liu? No? Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for your work. We will move on to our public question and comment period. So I'd like to invite members of the public in the gallery here today. If you would like to come forward to comment, this is the only time in tonight's agenda. When you do come forward, please just let us know your full name and the item to which you wish to speak to. And we will have 2 minutes for each speaker. Thank you.
Nick Dickinson Wild. I was just wanting to talk to item 9.1, attachment 03, bylaw item number 6.3. It appears to be missing a word. It says for proposed development comprising 25 dwelling units or more than 2,300 square feet of non-residential gross floor area. I believe that should be 25 or more dwelling units, because 6.2 says fewer than 25 and there's no allocation for more than 25. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other speakers today? Sorry, Ms. Lou, can you turn off your microphone? Thank you.
I know by now. Veronica Pemberton Billing. I live in Sooke. I wanted to speak to item 7.5 and particularly page 36 and of the agenda, and it's concerning the draft OCP. And I have a few things to say about this. First of all, I wanted to find out what's happening with the public hearing, which was promised a public hearing on the draft OCP in the meeting before the civic elections in October 2022. So I wanted to request strongly that council keep that promise to the public and do a public hearing before the next reading of the draft OCP. I think this OCP has not been widely discussed. It was created during the pandemic. When I looked at all the points of contact that it refers to, most of them seem to have been taken at high schools or in parks outside. So I don't think the public has been widely informed about this. There's many issues with the draft OCP. They're numerous and they're deep. Serious is that with the imposition of Bill 44 and the forced rezoning in Sooke for greater densification, this mandated increase in density will be stacked onto the extraordinary densification already permitted by the draft OCP. So that's just one of the issues. Just tonight, though, and as I said, there are hundreds of issues with this. I think this OCP should be withdrawn, has to do with the 15-meter increase to 30-meter setback for private property. Has that been withdrawn? That's been completely withdrawn. So because in the mapping changes, it says that the map will be changed so that it doesn't cross the First Nations lands, but we've withdrawn it for everyone? All private
If I
property?
may, that has already been addressed. And in regards to the public hearing, what we're dealing with tonight is
Sorry,
public
could you just
engagement.
tell
Let
me-
finish? Thank
My
you.
part, yes, okay.
So we are speaking in reference to lands that are not part of the municipality, namely the Sooke Nation. That has been pointed out here. Tonight, we're dealing with a public engagement process, and a public hearing will follow as noted in the staff report.
I couldn't
So
see
is-
that there. I'm sorry, I couldn't see that there.
You would need to put through the various readings of the bylaw, have a public hearing, and carry on through all of that.
Okay, so that's going to happen.
That'll happen once we have a draft that council is approving.
Okay,
This is public engagement.
Great.
Is what we're discussing tonight, not the OCP in that form. We're looking to send it out to the public to hear from them, and that'll provide you with the opportunity to comment further on the 100 or so items that you mentioned.
I'm sorry.
Okay?
I just wanted to ask, so will there be a public hearing? I mean, I don't understand the
Yes,
process.
because we have to do first reading, second reading, third reading, a public hearing, and then adoption.
Okay, and then just for my own information, the setback has been, that additional has been removed broadly for all private
That was
property.
already done by the previous council. So that has not changed because it's sitting at that form
Okay,
in the reading that occurred at that time.
great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that clarification.
Still on. My name is Helen Ritz. I'm here tonight to speak in strong support of moving the draft official community plan forward to the next round of public engagement. This plan has been shaped by years of community input through surveys, open houses, and advisory committees. It reflects the voices of 2,000 plus Sooke residents who participated in good faith, hoping their contributions would guide how our town grows and changes. What's on the table tonight is not final adoption. It's simply approval to let the public review and respond to the latest edits. It's the democratic next step. and delaying that would be both unfair to the public and risky given the provincial deadline of December 31st. Sooke needs stability and consistency in its planning. Our parks and trails strategy, transportation improvements, and climate action work all depend on having a modern adopted OCP as their foundation. If anyone on council or in the community has suggestions or edits, these can and should be brought forward during the engagement period. But now is not the time to stall the entire process. Please vote tonight to move this draft forward for public input. Let's keep faith with the residents who helped shape it and stay on course toward a strong community-based plan for Sooke's future. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to the earlier speaker, you'll see on page 54 of the agenda that a proposed date for the public hearing is December 9th of this year. Ms. Lurs, your microphone needs to be on, please.
Oh, Ellen Lord Sooke. I do want to speak to some things in this, one with the coastal resilient sea level rise. And what's the other one here about the impact of climate change? I have some information here that I'd like to give as a corporate officer. Being in the garden all day and doing what I do, I don't have time to do all the copying, but I would like council to read this information because of the setbacks are related to alleged sea level rise, which hasn't changed in the last 100 years. So I just want to leave this information here with corporate. Thank you. And as far as the public engagement, having been part on this committee, I don't believe that there was really good public engagement during COVID. And initially, we were going to update the 2010 OCP, and that all changed without any consultation. Really, it happened. The 2010 change, it changed that we went to a brand new OCP, which really wasn't a public consultation. I was there. We got papers that we were told to either yes or no to. So I don't think it was really properly done. So I look forward to a lot of open public meetings that people are able to engage and to go through this. It's not an easy thing. I mean, you've got 300 pages to go through. For people to go through it, to just say, oh, what do you think about this OCP? Have you read it? You know, there's a lot of things to think about and a lot of discussion. So I think it will take like do 10 pages, talk about it, do 10 pages, talk about it. It's not so simple. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other speakers this evening? I'm calling for first-time speakers, please.
It's like remembering to unmute yourself, you know, except it's in the reverse. I am so excited again. Oh, I'm sorry, Susan Belford. I live in Casinos here in Sooke. I am again so excited that the OCP is moving towards getting finalized because we have a lot of work to do, and we haven't in Sooke been able to do a lot of that work because we haven't had the document to guide us, to bring together all of the other planning that this community has done and guide us forward into the future. So I'm very excited. I urge you to move this on to the public engagement section, which I know will be robust because there's lots to talk about particularly in the development permit area section. So I won't take any more time just to say, yay, let's get it moved forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers this evening?
Herb Haldane, Sooke. I'm looking at it like we're rushing this OCP thing through. If we were going to have engagement and we had this deadline December of some time, why were we not engaging 6 months or a year ago? Why are we waiting till 6 months to go? And then we want to push through with August and September as our months to get some public engagement when nobody's here in the office as a counselor in August, and nobody's going to be here in September except for maybe one meeting because you have UBCM and other commitments. So I find it odd that we're waiting so long to push it through. I don't like the document in its present form, so I think that there has to be a lot more consultation with the public. And if I do get the opportunity to go to UBCM, then I will be meeting with Ravi Kalon, and I'll find out how to get us some extensions on this so we can look at it further down the road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other speakers this evening? Second time speakers?
Veronica Pemberton, billing, Sooke. So I really do. I saw that agenda and I thought, thank you again to each of you that's the agenda for one meeting and it's 700 pages is just extraordinary. So I do appreciate all your work, and time limits me to criticism, however. So I did want to say though, and I appreciate your pointing out that there is a public hearing scheduled for December the 9th. I also reflect on this looks democratic. The effort is democratic. I appreciate the previous speaker that said, brought up democracy, but in fact, this is non-democratic. To do the public hearing on December 9th, when most people will come out, people are often more comfortable speaking about things, speaking directly to the council. December 9th, that's like 2 weeks before Christmas. And then we've got the reading to accept it on January the 6th. So it seems to me that when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this public hearing is only performative, because there is nothing that will be said at that public meeting that could make any difference in the OCP. It can't be done in that timeline. So it's a performative statement to make democracy appear like it is occurring, but won't really make any difference. So I would like to urge that I like what Mr. Haldane said about maybe having an extension on this, but to really get engagement on this OCP, because it's possible I've missed it all, but I don't recall much discussion on this since before the elections 3 years ago, when this was a hot topic. So I'll leave it with that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other speakers tonight? And I'll just share that while this agenda seems lengthy, these items have all come forward to the Land Use Committee, which was open to the public and has public participation on it. And so now it's here, it's the process, it goes to committee, it flows to council, so the material appears twice. So this has been in the public realm for several weeks. And further, since the last election, we continue, some of us elected that are out and talking to members of the public, as well as our staff, have continued to receive feedback from various entities since then. And now we're at this point. So it's, and now there's a more formalized process to involve everyone else. And that's why we have an edited document that is going out for public consumption, because otherwise we don't have anything to work from. Ms. Belford, welcome back.
Well, yeah, thank you. And just really briefly, I think it's important to think about democracy doesn't just happen in a public hearing when a whole bunch of people arrive at the meeting and have their say. That's an important aspect of democracy, but it's not the main one, really. I think that what we will find through the engagement process is that's where the work gets done. That's when people can drill down onto precise aspects of the document and really wrestle with some of the concepts there and come to agreement, so that by the time the public hearing happens, a lot of that democratic back and forth and discussion will have happened. So I would urge people who feel they haven't been involved, get involved in that engagement process. There has been engagement on the OCP in Sooke for what, 4 years now? 3-4 years? It's been a while. There have been many, many opportunities to connect.
Thank you, Ms. Belford. I see Ms. Lures is returning to the microphone, and then following this speaker, we are going to carry on with tonight's meeting agenda.
Thank you, Ellen Lord, Sooke, Casinos, really. I really don't think the public engagement that the mayor was talking about in the last 3 weeks, I don't think there was any opportunity really for people, especially the people who are directly involved, people who are young families with their children and getting ready to get out of school holidays. There really wasn't any opportunity, no opportunity for me. I'd love to go, as you know, I like to go to everything, but there's no way. I'm busy, I'm a farmer. And so there really was an opportunity, and I agree with Mr. Haldane and what's your name? That that we that there be an extension, because this is just not long enough. We've got then in September there's an election, then there's or October, whatever it is, and then
What, there is no.
no, there's no election this year. No, no. Good. Thank goodness. No more elections. Anyway, but then school starts and all these different things happening. It's just really not enough time for engagement. It needs to be downtime. Wintertime is a good time, probably, for engagement, public engagement. And the public engagement has to be people coming, like I said, do through 10 pages, talk about it, do roundtable discussions. It's not something simple to go through. And so you have a table at an event and people, well, what do you think about this? Well, I don't know. I haven't read the 560 pages or whatever. They haven't. So how would they be able to really engage is my question. There has to be a better way to have engagement. So I think we have to talk about it a little bit more, what public engagement really means. And I mean, I've talked about this before, about having roundtables set up where people can come and speak to different items. Even if it takes 4 meetings, 5 meetings, that's a better way to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. We can't extend anything if we don't start. So anyway, we will move on in the agenda here. I'm looking at the consent agenda. And that would be that the following items on the consent agenda be adopted by consent. We have 7.2 through to 7.5. Councillor St. Pierre, then Beddoes. All right, you're moving it. Okay, and seconded by Councillor Beddoes. Thank you. I will then call the question.
Wait, I'd like to pull item 7.5, please.
Okay, you're pulling 7.5. Okay. That'll fall to the end of the agenda. Anything else? All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, or yes. Okay, so I'll move on to 8.1, a park use permit for commercial use. Over to staff, please.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship. Through your worship to council, the Food Cheese Society has put in an application for commercial parks use permit, and in alignment with council's policy, it's council's authority to approve the commercial parks use permits. Staff are recommending in alignment with the recommendations to approve this parks use permit. It is for the Apple Festival, which is an annual event put on by the Food Cheese Society. And staff are also asking council to consider exempting Fuji from the commercial use administrative fees and application permit fees. Following resolutions are before council for consideration.
Okay, are there any questions of staff? Go ahead, Councillor St. Pierre.
Through your worship to staff, is this something that we'll have to redo yearly, or is this something that I know that we're working on some of the background work, rules around this stuff? Is this going to continue coming forward in this way? Or is this a more permanent solution?
In terms of commercial parks use applications in general for this annual event, it would
this
come.
annual event.
Yeah, this would come forward annually for council to approve that permit, as well as any other commercial parks use permit applications.
Thank you.
Councillor Pearson.
Yes, through the chair. Thank you. So when we say commercial use, is that they're charging an entrance fee? Or is it like, because I think in the past it was just like a community event. So
Yeah, commercial use would be more in alignment with like an event that's going on as opposed to someone's personal use for it. Something that would be a public hosted event and considered commercial.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, through you to staff, Fucci received a $7,000 community grant back in April, and I believe Apple Fest was one of the 5 projects in that application. Can you give me any background on that?
Yes, I can. Through your worship to Councillor Bateman. So they received a funding application. I believe $1,150 of the $1,500 was to go towards administration fees for the event, as well as tent canopies. I have followed up with the president of the Fucci Society, and the extra administration costs under their grant application was more focused on administration for coordinating the event, coordinating the vendors, coordinating the washroom facilities going in, as well as the traffic control. It was not specifically pertaining to the park use permit application fees and that, and therefore we have a resolution to consider exempting those fees.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anything else? Okay, so the recommendation is that council authorize a commercial parks use permit to Sooke Food Cheese Society for a harvest festival and market at the Sun River Community Garden and Orchard, 2380 Phillips Road, in accordance with section 6.0 of the Community Park Regulation Bylaw number 101, and subject to the conditions outlined in the permit attachment 1, and that council exempt Sooke Food Cheese Society. Well, maybe I'll start with the first one, because then the second one. Okay, that's moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by St. Pierre. Would you like to motivate or speak to it? Councillor Pearson? Okay, Harvest Festival and Market is not correct. It's Apple Festival. We'll sort that out, okay? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please. That's carried unanimously. The next part is that council exempt Sooke Food Cheese Society from commercial use and administrative fees for the use of Sun River Allotment Garden and Community Orchard for the September 21st, 2025 commercial use in accordance with section 8 of the Community Parks Regulation Bylaw. Moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by St. Pierre. All those in favor, and that's carried unanimously. Okay, thank you. We're moving on to section 9 bylaws. We have here 9.1 for adoption. I'll just turn to staff. Is there anything further to add to this report, please?
Thank you, Worship. No, I have nothing further to add to this report. The report summarizes essentially the phase 2 of the public consultation for the bylaw, which was conducted in June. Brief summary of the consultation is explained in the report, and there's a comprehensive summary attached to the report as well. And happy to answer any questions. No amendments to the bylaw were identified through the consultation, and staff are requesting council consideration for final readings and adoption tonight.
Questions of staff? Councillor St. Pierre, no. You're looking to move the motion, and that is that council give final reading and adoption to subdivision and development standards bylaw number 925, 2025. That's moved by St. Pierre, seconded by Beddoes. Would you like to comment? Go ahead, please.
I appreciate that you have honestly, this massive amount of work that got done is appreciated. Appreciate the consultation that happened. The general tenor seemed to be quite positive, and I'm pleased to see that as well. So hopefully this will actually help with easing the development process and making it just much more clear to everyone in terms of expectations and so on. And we needed that for a long time, so thank you.
Councillor Beddoes?
Yeah, I just want to thank staff for all the hard work that's gone into this, and we're at the point of adopting it, so I'm pretty pleased.
Councillor Pearson, did I see your hand? No,
No,
no.
it's not mine.
Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, so I would have had some questions, but slow off the mark as usual. So I'll just make some comments. We did discuss this very significantly back in May. I think I was interested to see that at the Building and Development Industry Sessions, just 3 individuals attended the live portion, and you only had 17 written responses to the survey, which I suppose speaks well to the fact that in the late May agenda, there was a full response to the 80 comments received at the development community workshops back in 2023. So I suppose that probably answered many of the concerns of the building community. Otherwise, I'm surprised only 3 showed up. So that's really a mark of success with this bylaw. I did note a few items here, the expanding of green infrastructure, and you've noted in the report that additional strategies regarding green infrastructure, i.e. rain gardens and permeable surfaces, could be considered in future amendments of this bylaw at a later date if desired by council. And I think it's worth noting that in the current OCP, which is our guiding document, there are at least 10 references to permeable surfaces, the requirement of the use of innovative development standards within residential subdivisions, where feasible, and in the new OCP also does reference paving and permeability in the town center and DPAs 7 and 8, intensive residential. So I'm curious to know what will emerge as some of the new plans that are indicated within this bylaw. That's the Stormwater Master Plan, Town Center Sewer Plan, and particularly in reference to permeable surfaces, the Boulevard Improvement Policy. So, yeah, and I did have some questions around the Master Municipal Construction documents and whether indeed, because this bylaw does append to those Master Municipal. So exceptions to how Sooke would like to play out development principles are included in this bylaw. And we do rely very heavily on the Master Municipal Construction documents, updated as recently as 2022. So anyway, thank you. It's a good document, good work.
Okay, so are you needing some further information to staff to inform you on whether or not to adopt the bylaw? Because that's one.
No, I'm
Okay.
happy to do that. I would have appreciated the opportunity to ask some of those questions, but I
can
live
follow
without them.
up. You
We
can
can follow up?
easily follow up with staff, and I'm sure they'd be
Okay.
happy to provide you with more of that
Thank you.
information. Okay, so the motion then is that council, have we moved and seconded this? Okay, thank you. So on adoption then, all those in favor, please? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to number 10, we have no new business. So we'll move to item 11, items removed from the consent agenda. So this will be 7.5 is requested by Councillor Bateman. So I'll turn to Councillor Bateman.
Okay. Well,
I'm looking to ask questions and then we will move the committee recommendation.
okay, so given the comments we heard earlier, I felt I was duty bound to pull this for just a update. You know, we did discuss this at the Land Use and Development Committee, again, a robust discussion. And I'd like to just get some clarity. I have questions regarding the table of changes. Some of I had a couple of points I wanted to make. I also wanted to review the OCP engagement plan because I'll begin there. So through you to staff, maybe Ms. Moog.
We'll just direct it to staff and in this case, our director
Okay.
will determine who is the appropriate person to.
So I'd like a review of the OCP engagement plan as it's documented here, please.
Yeah, through the worship, to your worship to Councillor Bateman, I think the manager of planning, Jaden Riley, will be answering any questions around the process of the public engagement.
Yeah.
Not listening, he's turning to our planner to answer.
So through the mayor, are you looking for a summary of the engagement? Yeah, so the engagement plan, it was prepared by our consultant, Urban Systems. So it begins with going through the course or sort of the engagement to date since 2021, when the visioning process occurred. And then it leads into a engagement tactics, which outlines the proposed anticipated timeline for engagement for this phase of the project, which includes the Land Use and Development Committee on July 3rd, this meeting on the 14th, and goes into public correspondence, online surveys, including website content and education pieces there, an online survey, sorry, I mentioned that already, a targeted development community meeting and open house, both in person and virtual. And that would be followed by a what we heard report, community pop-up sessions as well, sorry, and then a council presentation of those findings, and then seeking direction from council at that stage. Yeah.
And I believe, did you mention the virtual and open houses, the in-person
Yes.
open house in mid-September?
Correct.
Possibly? Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. And I also note that you are welcoming community groups to contact the planning department directly for one-on-one input sessions.
Through the mayor, that's correct. So we'll be at pop-ups. They're kind of piggybacking off of the budget pop-ups. So we'll be handing out cards for information to our online to the website. Sorry, and we do have a mailing list of 200 individuals and organizations who will provide further information to, and just kind of open our doors essentially for feedback at that time, and yes, schedule meetings with organizations if warranted. So we'll make that determination then.
As we heard earlier, there's a sense by some in the community that this is a rushed timeline. Do you believe that? We have a deadline of December 31st as required by the province.
Through the mayor, I guess just to speak objectively, we do have a deadline from the province to adopt this OCP in terms of the Bill 44 requirements by the end of the year. So just, I think considering the engagement that has been done previously, we have brought this to council earlier this year in January to get support on an approach to the adoption. And that's the direction that we received, and we're pursuing in accordance with that direction. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to put the motion on the floor, and that is that council directs staff to initiate a final round of public consultation on the draft official community plan, OCP bylaw number 800, using a working draft that reflects the proposed preliminary edits outlined in attachment 3, and to proceed with consultation in accordance with the proposed engagement plan outlined in attachment 1, prior to bringing the bylaw forward for council's consideration of any amendments.
So moved.
That's moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Councillor Beddoes. So speaking to the motion, please, Councillor Bateman.
Well, I think as we've heard earlier, okay. Okay. So we have, as our staff report states, August 10th, 2020 was when we began this process. It followed up on a earlier process that was launched in 2015-16. We have known we need to get a official community plan finalized. We have gone through an immense amount of public input. Over, I believe the number I heard was 2,000 touch points. This is material that granted was collected during the COVID period. We are certainly not alone in undertaking, I believe View Royal undertook its engagement during COVID, and other communities as well. In fact, those 2,000 touch points, I think, are well above the average for OCPs in this province. I see a shaking head from our new councillor, and that's fine, and that's to be expected. However, well, yeah, I think we're ready to roll. I think, interestingly, we've heard there hasn't been enough public input. There was, in fact, a public hearing on September 27th, 2022. There was a input session here in this chamber that packed the chamber on July 10th, 2023. There were a series of meetings beforehand at which the public spoke to us in person here at the at Municipal Hall. So I think that I really look forward to seeing what people come up with during this August to September engagement period. I think something's happening always. So to suggest that there's an ideal time for engagements of this sort is I just don't think that's right. I think we need to move forward and get this thing done. And get this thing done with that full and proper input. Interestingly, back in 2022, in those final meetings, prior to the public hearing, there was a very significant piece from staff addressing issues that had been raised by the community at large, including some matters of misinformation. And that material, I believe the planning department has looked very thoroughly through all the available documents and have in fact made in their red line version of this document an awful lot of really valuable changes. This table of changes, which I recommend everyone have a look at, because I know you've all read that OCP prior to the 2022 hearing, and you will see that a lot of really substantial changes have been made, particularly in terms of removing, I'm getting to my 5 minutes, so I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Beddoes, I believe, seconded.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I'm sort of a little aghast that I hear that there hasn't been consultation. There's been consultation for the last 4 years. We have gone to the Buildings Association a number of times. We've told them, get your thoughts known, bring them into staff. Staff has been recording these concerns for the last number of years. And we had a robust hearing at the Land Use Committee, which was a democratic process. And I believe that was unanimous when it passed to put it forward. So I think it is time to get on with it. I mean, you know, we've been engaging for 4 years. I don't know where everybody's been if they say this is all of a sudden a big surprise. Mind you, I go back to the last time it almost was passed, I heard the same thing. So we only heard about it now. I'm sorry, this has been in the news for 4 years now. It's been coming up numerous times. There's been numerous engagements here. And then all of a sudden to say, well, you know, the first we heard of it, I don't think so. I think it's time we put this to bed. We're going to go out to the public and get those final comments. And with the marked up version, staff has made all those changes and made very clear, and it's all highlighted in red what the changes are. So it's not a terrible hard read. And I just think, you know, what's the point of delaying it anymore? It's just, you know, we need it. We need it to run our community. It's based on official community plan. And the government insists that we have an updated official community plan. And here we're doing that. And I mean, that's the democratic process. We've engaged, we're doing more engagement. I just can't think of anything else that we need to do. So I think we need to move on. Thank you.
Councillor St. Pierre.
Just like to note that we have had ongoing input. Staff and council has been responsive and more than willing to get input on the OCP. But it's also a living document, and no OCP is going to be absolutely perfect. If there are real issues with it, we will address those issues. But legally, we need to have that document in place by the province, and we're already looking at potentially having an extension simply to work within the framework we already have. So we already know that we might need an extension. We're already in place for that. We don't need anyone to talk to the ministers for that. The point is we need to get it done, and we might not get it done even within the time, but we need to show that we're getting it done. And then we'll ask for an extension. If we basically, you know, start slowing the process down, who knows? The other thing is we haven't had any substantive changes in the OCP. I do not believe the document was very clear. I don't believe it was well laid out. I think it was extraordinarily confusing. And I think because of that, people were confused and they needed more time, and that's understandable. I wish the document was more clear, but I've had a look now, and I understand that almost every community is moving towards these monstrously long documents. We're not the only ones. These documents seem to be including things like the regional growth strategy, the housing needs assessment, baking in the kind of density that's actually required through those documents. We need a document that will guide our growth and do it in the way we want. And this is actually what the community has told us. The community will have more up to tell us and make sure that we got it right. But we haven't seen any substantive changes, and I don't expect substantive changes. If the community actually changes, that we will respond. But meanwhile, we need to move forward. And everyone is super busy and sick and tired of this. We need it finished.
Counselor Pearson, any comments?
Hope. I guess I'm gonna be the one outstanding here in my field, but the OCP, and my understanding is that the OCP we have now could have been updated with Bill 44. The requirement, it feels like we're mixing apples and oranges and saying that this document has to be in by December 31st. What the real legislation says is that our OCP, if it's existing, has to be updated by December 31st. We don't have to have a new OCP. We're going to public hearing. I supported this going forward, so it does get to public hearing. It's a 5-year-old document. It's a very, very, very cumbersome document. It's got some baked in costs into it, climate change, et cetera, that I don't think we understand. The financial ramifications that are coming with this new OCP. It's very, very cumbersome. I am waiting still for answers around aspirational trails, things like that, which I will get to ask those questions in the public hearing. And I'll be able to hear from the public what they think about having trails still marked on their property. There's some baked in, or there, I should say that I've said that once. There's some intrinsic mistakes in this OCP as being presented. There still is a red line document, which I appreciate. People are saying that this is the input. It's a 5-year-old document now. I would much prefer if we just took Bill 44 and lumped it into our 2010. I understand all that work is there. I don't want it to get lost, the work that has, because I know everybody is saying that there was 2000 input. There's still a lot of very unhappy people out there, and it's not the general people of the population, it's the users of the document. It's the people that actually have to forge forward in the community, building, doing things. And it's not just developers, it's people who are going to be subdividing one lots and things like that. So it's, in my opinion, August and September, I voted for it at the land use to get it forward so that it does have public hearings so that we can start having input to it. There is some solutions that are not going to have a feel that it's rammed in. However, I can see where it's going, but I disagree with August and September. I would support September and October. I think August is our down month. It's council and staff's down month, and the public, the general public, is traveling. So that's my opposition to it.
Okay, thank you, everyone. What is in front of us today is not the content of the OCP, but to actually get on with public consultation. And so it's difficult to ask for an extension when we haven't started anything. So for me, it's the case of getting on with the work, and we have something in front of us that is final. And as I mentioned earlier, our staff have continued to receive feedback on this document, as have I, for several years now. So if members of council are hearing that they're not getting that, then you need to maybe go to a night market or ask those questions when you're out there, because I get them, I forward them to staff, and that's where the information is. But we need to start somewhere, and this basically does that. So, and then there'll be plenty of time because it'll come back to council. So you don't have to wait for the public hearing, Councillor Pearson, to ask your questions. You could actually do that when the document returns to either council or the land use committee. And that's where I'm hoping, when we hear there's a problem with the document, a bit more clarity on what that problem is per se. There is in legislation from the province that was updated July 24th of 2024, what is required to be within here. Some of the places that are optional and some that are other provincial and federal guidelines. In terms of what is optional, much of that is based on what the 2010 document and the one prior already relates to. So it's not anything new. Things like a regional context statement, policy, there's policies around farming. I'm not going to get into the details because I'm sure you can all have that online. In terms of not doing this, well, Bill 44 eliminates public hearings. So what does the process look like without an official community plan? So I suppose that's a good way to slow down development And now the public has no idea what vision we're trying to do. So I think that would just make it more challenging for developers and development in general and anything else that we try to do within the district. Things have to be current. They have to face the modern reality. Sitting here today, I'm aware that there are 3 wildfires currently burning within the area. That was not the case 10 years ago. And I can say that because I was still the mayor 10 years ago, and never was I as anxious in the summertime as I am now, week after week. So we have to be mindful of the changing world as well as the growth that's happened and the expectations of residents. And really, I think let's make decisions and get on with the work that we need to do and carry on from there. So I'm going to call the question on this. All those in favor? Any opposed is Councillor Pearson, and that carries. So moving on in our agenda today, let's see here. That was the only item removed from the consent. We have a released correspondent Horizon report. This was done at an in-camera meeting on June 23rd. Council made the following resolution at June 23rd in camera that council adopt C0-028 respectful correspondence policy as presented. So there's no action. This is just a Horizon report. So we'll go to number 13 for council verbal reports. Would anyone like to report out? Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, I did attend the seniors crowning or whatever it is, the Sooke Senior, which was very interesting. I didn't see a whole lot of it because I was busy cooking hot dogs the whole time or being there. But anyways, it was very well attended. I was surprised. I purchased the hot dogs. I purchased 100 and I had to go out and purchase another 60 because we kept running out. So anyways, it was a good time, and it's nice to see the seniors so engaged with trying to get their senior center. And I think maybe we need to be looking at that in the near future, our role in this, because I've been dealing with that. Maybe I should be making a speech now, should I? But I've been dealing with this senior center for so long, and nothing's happening. And we may have to do some sort of a push. But anyways, I had a good time. Thanks.
Councillor Pearson.
Yes, I got there too late for the hot dogs, but I did see the crowning at the Sooke Senior. You think? But and then on Canada Day, I don't think I've reported this Canada Day. It was a great event down at the Sooke Flats. I was a few minutes late, but I did get to hear the tail end of the mayor's speech, which was good. It was a good event. Lots of attendance at both events, and nothing else. Wantafuka Water Commission hasn't met, but this week the big board will meet on Wednesday. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor St. Pierre.
I wanted to report out specifically on the CRD Intermunicipal Climate Action Task Force, where our own Elizabeth Lang of Fireweed presented the work that basically we've been funding in Sooke. And it was extraordinarily well received by the representatives from all the various local governments across the South Island. She did an amazing presentation, talking about the story-based work that she's been doing in the community, creating the connections, getting the messaging out, explaining how the model works. It was lovely to actually see Sooke basically taking a leadership position in terms of this type of work, and honestly getting congratulated by the various other reps for doing it. So that was kind of a high point. Also visited Canada Day and ran away when they wanted to dunk me. No, thank you. Sorry.
They're still hunting you.
They're still hunting me, but I'm still running.
Councillor Bateman.
Okay. Yeah, so I voted in the by-election on Saturday, so congratulations, Mr. Haldane, very sincerely, and very glad to know our runners-up will be continuing their work on our committees, Ms. Ritz and Ms. Strongwind. I just, my one comment on this is that the voter turnout was at least a third higher than it was back in 2019. So that's a really good sign. It came, yeah. So thank you to the district of you citizens. Thank you. There was a gathering at the Sooke First Nation back on, we all attended. We all forgot that. Yeah. I have my day timer, so I look back at that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have forgotten, because we did get a walk through the new community complex and health center, which is this, you know, I can't describe. It's remarkable. put it that way. And they're planning an official opening in September for that. Canada Day was very fun and engaging at first time at Fred Milne Park, and I think it worked really well. There were quite a few more vendors on site. And I think the Lions did blockbuster business at the concession, even with food trucks as well on site. So it was a good day. Yep, congratulations, Moonfist, on the Sooke Spectacular Senior. And I attended the final committee meeting of the Alliance to End Homelessness in the Capital Region. That was last week. Its board has decided to shutter the organization due to funding cutbacks and the subsequent inability of the Alliance to deliver on its commitments. And the Alliance Executive Director, Sylvie Cicero, said in the Times Colonist, quote, "I predict a future where in a few years somebody will say, my goodness, we are all working in silos. Let's have a coalition that will bring this forward and make us work together." So people from BC Housing, Kool-Aid Society, Island Health, BC Coalition to End Youth Homelessness, the Aboriginal Coalition, Victoria Police Department, they were all there to say, thank you for your work and we're going to miss you. And ideally, the CRD is going to be looking at how to take some of its funding to find fresh avenues to address some of this coalition work. And we also had a meeting of the Sooke Homelessness Coalition at which we learned about the Sooke Shelter Society receiving $30,000 from the Victoria Foundation. And that will fund in part the salary of one of the mental health and addictions outreach workers. So and they will be spotlighted, in fact, the Sooke Shelter in the next edition of the Vital Signs report. And finally, there was an age-friendly committee meeting. Age-friendly action plan of 2015 is ready for an update. So this committee will be doing some of that work and bring it forward to council through a delegation, ideally. EMCS Society was present to introduce their youth engagement coordinator for this summer. And I mentioned the multi-use games court and how that would be a great spot for some youth activities, potentially, now that it's open.
Well, thank you, members of council. It was great to see you all at Canada Day, new venue and very busy. It seemed like there was just waves of families enjoying the event. So thank you to the Sooke Lions for their work and the Community Association for hosting it there. Very pleased to open the Sooke Philharmonic Fling at Ed McGregor on the 6th. And again, another great crowd of previous flingers and new people joining and enjoying our Philharmonic, something that we can be very proud of. The Sooke Fine Arts Show will kick off later this month. So if you haven't already, be sure to get your purchaser's preview ticket because before they sell out, that's changed from Thursday to Fridays. It's now on Fridays, so it doesn't conflict with the night market. So that'll be on July the 25th. I was pleased to meet with our new MP, Member of Parliament, Stephanie McLean. So I shared with her some of our work that we've done for various grant applications and looking for her support and also some follow-up on some of those and also some of the work that our local communities like Sooke Region Community Health Network are doing to progress the needs for our aging population here in Sooke. And we'll also follow up with our MLA in the next while, probably next week. Just to touch base because we were all coordinating meetings around each other. So really enjoying the synergy that's occurring here. The Seniors Searchins event for the crowning of Spectacular Senior, they raised just about $26,000, I understand, towards the gathering place. A remarkable achievement in a very short time. And also it was fun to see the Upside guys present throughout the day as well, just adding a bit of levity to the event. However, it also showcased some of the inaccessible challenges with our parks. So a bit of the grade down, I noticed that many were moving their vehicles or getting a ride down to the parking lot of the apartment complex to load because it was very difficult to push back up the hill. And the accessible spots in our parking were taken. So it's something that just to be mindful of, and also wonderful outdoor event, but no indoor event. So what do we do when the weather changes? To your earlier comment, Councillor Beddoes. The Sooke Music Festival is moved up a bit this year, so that's on August the 8th. I usually open the headlining event that shifted from Saturday, so it'll be on Friday, August the 8th with a Econoline Crush at 4 p.m. And then on the 9th, August the 9th, tennis will be celebrated in Langford. So I'm going to that, not to play, but it's 100 years, a century of tennis here on the West Shore. I will be at the night market this Thursday. So members of council, you may want to start looking at your schedule, seeing to sign up for various events. And also recently at the Capital Regional District, following some of our community grant discussions or Councillor Bateman's work with the Wanda Fuca Performing Arts Committee that you've been participating on, and Councillor Lajeunesse prior, there has been a move to advance a performing arts service throughout the Capital Regional District. So I did support that to advance it forward and then to see where that goes and what process will come next. So whether that would be a regional alternative approval process, regional referendum, or council consent is yet to be determined, but I was made aware of the shortage of performing arts spaces here in Sooke, and that we do have actually more than a few groups that travel and make use of other venues because of the busyness here in Sooke. So there's some different elements, but we need more information to come. It needs to move out into the public realm now. So that's where it is. Lastly, I'm aware of the wildfires. So just folks, if you're out in the wild places, these are all human caused. We didn't need to be in this situation. So just be mindful when you're out there of what you're leaving behind or what's happening, because this is devastating to the natural environment, the creatures that call home. I've received a few calls from some folks that are already impacted by the smoke. And that potentially may intensify. So again, it's a growing alarming problem that we have. And it's early. Well, it was around this year. We had to cancel a council meeting around this time last year when Old Man Lake started. Maybe it was a bit later. So it is earlier. And we had some damp weather, it's still very dry out there. And I'm assuming anyone that's gardening will notice you don't dig too far and it's noticeable how dry the ground is. Otherwise, I do wish to congratulate Councillor-elect Herbert Haldane. We look forward to you joining us in the next couple of weeks. And our staff will be reaching out once you're affirmed in to go through all the orientation and the like, and get there's still time to register for various parts of the program of Union of BC Municipalities. So you may want to check that out online. And a big thank you to everyone else. The turnout, as mentioned, was what it was because candidates worked hard to get the vote out and to spread the messaging in addition to the communication that came out of our staff. But it was really candidates out there chatting and getting the vote out. And that's what makes a difference. So other than that, I'd like to thank staff for the work and what they've done. And I'll look for our next item, which is a motion to adjourn. How about that? And it's just after 7, moved by Councillor St. Pierre and seconded by Councillor Bateman. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And thank you, folks.